Okay, so a few weeks ago, my dad messaged me, basically something along the lines of, hey, look what I found on the Facebook Marketplace. And what he found was a pretty much brand new, barely used Epiphone Les Paul Special 2. And it was up there for like a pretty damn good price. So I said to him, hey, listen, I don't have the money right now, but if you could get this for me and hold on to it and I could pay you for it, I would love that guitar. And he kind of left the conversation there. I was sort of unknown as to whether he got it or not. And then later on that day, he messaged me a photo of it next to his Harley Benton Telecaster saying, looks pretty good with my setup. So I sent him a photo of my guitars and said, I think it'd look better with mine. So next thing you know, I saved up enough money, I gave it to him, got it off him, and now I am an owner of an Epiphone, of a good old Les Paul. Now, through my research, I found that these Epiphone Special 2s are the more budget option that Epiphone offers for Les Paul type guitars. Usually you can find them for around 200 USD, but when it comes to Australian dollars, my dad bought this for about 1 or 200 Australian dollars. Now, usually stuff like this is more expensive in Australia unless you buy it locally because of just import fees and stuff like that, and Epiphone's obviously not an Australian-based company, so he got this for a pretty damn good price considering it was barely used. So, a few different things about this guitar. It's got 2 humbucker pickups, which basically means compared to a single coil, these, when you crank it up with gain and stuff like that, they won't have much background buzz, and they often have a bit more of a warmer, thicker tone compared to single coils. That's why you'll see these being used for stuff like rock and roll and metal and stuff like that, instead of stuff like a Strat or a Telecaster, because these can handle high gain and distortion a lot better without that background buzzing. As you guys might know, I also have a pretty cheap Stratocaster copy that I usually have in my room here that I play all the time. My dad gave that to me as my first electric guitar actually, but I don't have that here with me right now. My friend is borrowing it. That's just an old Yamaha that barely works back there that my friend lent me. So I can't do any direct comparisons between them, but I will tell you a few differences that I found between using the 2 different style of guitar. Number one, and I would say the biggest difference between the 2, is the neck and the fretboard. So with your normal Stratocaster type necks, you'll often find it has a more slim neck, and I think it's a 9.5-inch radius fretboard. Your fingers wrap around it a bit more, and there's a curve to the actual fretboard. This Les Paul, and from what I've seen from many other Les Paul type guitars, completely flat neck, and it has a slightly thicker, chunkier, more rounded neck. This one feels a bit more like there's just more there, right? And that was definitely something that I had to get used to starting off playing this guitar, because it is a lot different to Strat type guitars, and I think Telecaster type guitars too. I've played my dad's a couple times, and yeah, the neck and fretboard feels very different from both of those. I think I do prefer my Strat copy to this. It just feels more comfortable to play over longer periods of time, but that's just a personal thing of mine, and this is honestly fun to play on, and it's all I have been playing since my friend's been borrowing my other one, so yeah, it is pretty nice to play on. As far as the fretwork itself on this guitar, it's actually pretty nice. If I look closely at the fretwork on this, there's not really any barbs or any pokey-outy, scratchy, sticky bits. That's, yeah, it's a really fantastic way of describing what a problem with a fretboard like this would be, but I will say that this has never really dug into my hand or been uncomfortable to play from it, like digging into me. I can run my hand up and down this and it feels fine, really. It's like, if I really wanted to, I could get like a sanding sponge or something and just lightly go over this to really make it rounded and nice, but it's really not necessary to enjoy playing on this. I would say the biggest comfort issue with this guitar would just be if you like the neck shape or not. Let's keep going over this guitar's specs, I guess. I don't know the specific specs on these, but it's got 2 humbucker pickups, it's got 1 volume and 1 tone knob, it's got the classic rhythm and treble Les Paul style pickup selector on there. Although, I will say that on this Les Paul, pickup switch is down here next to the volume and tone knobs and not up here where you would usually find it on a guitar like this, but I mean, it's fine. Now, also through my research, this guitar model comes in different colors. I know that there's a blue one. There's a couple of other colors you can get this in too, I think. At least one other color. I honestly think this is the nicest color you can get for this model, but yeah, I think they all look pretty nice, to be honest. Anyway, enough talking about this guitar. Let's plug it in and I'll show you what it sounds like. We'll do clean tones and then with some drive and then with some distortion. I'm so shit at Master of Puppets, it's not even funny. Alright, so there we are, that's the guitar. Now, I'm not super technically skilled when it comes to guitar. I've only been playing for the past maybe 6 months, and to be honest, I never really pay attention to music theory because I just can't wrap my head around it. I don't know scale shapes properly, and I'm still not very technically good. And I don't know very much about the specifics of guitars, though I'm working on that because I find it really interesting. But this is, from a newbie's perspective, what that guitar's all about. If you're a fan of the Les Paul shape of guitars, or if you just want some humbuckers so you can crank that gain high, or you just want a really nice rock and roll aesthetic-y kind of looking guitar, then I really could not recommend that enough. It's fine. Like, for a budget option guitar from Epiphone, it's a pretty great place to start. And of course, with guitars, you can always modify them, put new pickups in it, change how the neck feels and all that. So I'm going to give you just a list of pros and cons for this guitar that, in my subjective opinion, can, change how I sort of feel about it. First things first, one thing I did notice compared to my Strat copy is that this guitar loses tune a lot quicker. Now, in my last video on the best songs for beginner guitarists, which check that out by the way, if you're a beginner like me, maybe a few stages before me and want to start accelerating your skill quickly, go check that video out. Someone even pointed out in the comments, and I noticed straight away, that my guitar in that video was out of tune, and I tuned it literally like earlier that night, like before I recorded that video. So if you're doing a lot of bends and if you're just playing it, it will lose tune a bit quicker than you might expect. Because I know that with my Strat copied guitar, it stays in tune pretty damn well actually. Like, I'm genuinely surprised by how well my Strat copy stays in tune. So I might have just been spoiled from that, but I'll just, make sure you're tuning this every once in a while to keep it sounding good. Another con for me personally is the neck shape and the fretboard, though that is just my own personal opinion and it's just how it's going to be with Les Pauls. They have have a completely flat fretboard and a more round, kind of chunkier neck. So if you're a fan of that kind of guitar neck and fretboard, then you'll absolutely love this. It'll be fine, but it's worth experimenting with, just seeing if you like it or not. I personally lean more towards the Strat style neck. That's just me personally, but I think it's still a great guitar nonetheless, and still very playable, don't get me wrong. The fretwork on it is absolutely fine, especially for a guitar of that price. So yeah, I think you will struggle to find a better Les Paul for a price like that, for 200 USD, and you can find them used and stuff, which is what I did to get it for an even cheaper price. So if you're in the market for something similar and you don't want to break the bank, then I would absolutely recommend the Epiphone Special 2 Les Paul. So many different names. Also, I do want to give a quick shout out to my Buy Me a Coffee link. I set that up recently. It's kind of like Patreon. I also have a Patreon down below that you can link to. There's just a couple of different ways that you can support me monetarily if you so wish. I absolutely do not expect any of you to do so, and if you do, I'm eternally grateful. If you do decide to support me, your name will be in the video description of every single video and in the outro at the end of every video. And as well as I have on my Buy Me a Coffee, if you pay me $5, you can give me a video topic and I will make a video on that in the future. Also, once I have a few more videos coming, I'll have it set up so my Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon supporters get my videos a few days early, so you can experience that before everyone else gets to, and you get access to my special private Discord server for supporters only. But of course, with me starting out so small, I don't expect any support, and really, I don't expect any support at all, ever. It's completely up to you, and you do not need to pay to watch this channel. It's just little things for people who have extra money out there to maybe help me start living my dream a bit more, because, you know, working at KFC is not too great. Thank you so much. The support on this channel has been great already, starting out like 2 videos. One of them's got 76 views, other one's got 21, and it only came out a couple days ago. I'm at 12 subscribers. Like, this is a pretty great start to a channel. I've started so many before, and this is definitely the fastest growing one. But within 2 videos, I already almost have 100 views, so thank you so much. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.